The lowest conceivable energy that a quantum mechanical entity can have is called zero-point energy, ZPE. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle states that quantum systems always vary in their lowest energy state, in contrast to classical mechanics. As a result, atoms and molecules continue to vibrate even at absolute zero. These characteristics also apply to the vacuum, which is a space, emptiness, devoid of atoms and molecules. Emptiness, also known as void or nothingness, is a situation of pure consciousness in religion and mysticism, wherein the mind has been cleansed of all specific objects and images. It is also a reflection or manifestation of the indistinct reality that the unfilled mind takes into account or manifests. A condition of no mind is one in which there are no thoughts, beliefs, notions, fears, or feelings of wrath. It is completely blissful. After years of focused one-point practice, yoga, and separation from everyone and everything, including material possessions, family, etc., people reach this state. Zero-point energy field, a scientific interpretation. Molecules still have vibrational energy at absolute zero temperature, which refers to zero-point energy. It's a fact that temperature in physics is a computation of the strength of random molecular motion. Therefore, it stands to reason that as the temperature approaches absolute zero, each motion may stop, and at the same time, molecules will also be motionless. The motion, equivalent to zero-point energy, however, never actually disappears. Fundamentals of quantum mechanics, the science of subatomic occurrences, lead to zero-point energy. The atoms that make up molecules would be distinctly placed and have precisely determined velocities, notably zero, if the molecules ever attained total repose. Molecules can never come to absolute rest, since it is a fundamental tenet of quantum physics that no particle can ever hold exact values of velocity and status at the same time, as per the principle of uncertainty. The world can be viewed as a continually fluctuating field of activities, rather than discrete particles, as per quantum field theory. These fields include substance, matter fields, whose quanta represent fermions, leptons, and quarks, and force fields, wherein quanta include bosons such as photons and gluons. These fields are all equivalent to zero-point domains. Because some systems can identify the presence of this energy, these changing zero-point fields lead to a form of proliferation of an ether in physics. A thorough theoretical model for explaining zero-point energy in this aspect is currently lacking in physics. There is significant debate over the disparity between postulated and measured vacuum energy in the universe. The concept of zero-point energy is particularly crucial for cosmology. A single speck of light might hold enough energy to evaporate an entire ocean, according to calculations made by renowned physicists Richard Feynman and John Wheeler. They determined that the zero-point radiation of the vacuum is a series of magnitudes, which is more powerful than nuclear energy. However, any such massive energy might gravitate following Einstein's most popular theory of relativity, and scientific proof from the universe's growth, dark energy, and the Casimir effect indicates that any such energy is incredibly feeble. The idea that the fermion field contains negative zero-point energy and the boson field possesses positive zero-point energy, and that these energies ultimately balance one another, is a uniform solution to this problem. It is widely accepted that supersymmetry, if it exists in the universe, is essentially a fragmented symmetry that only holds at extremely high energy conditions. No physicist has yet to present a hypothesis that predicts zero-point cancellations in the low-energy cosmic realm that inhabitants currently experience. One of the most notable physics puzzles, still unanswered, is the cosmological chronic issue, which is the name given to this difference. The vacuum, in the opinion of several scientists, retains the key to a complete knowledge of nature. Rudimentary connections exist between the Heisenberg uncertainty principle and zero-point energy. The uncertainty principle virtually asserts that complementary variables, like an object's position and momentum, or a field's value and derivatives at a space juncture, cannot be exactly described by a particular quantum state simultaneously. For instance, a state wherein the system is stationary at the bottom of its prospective well is not possible, because then its position and momentum will be adequately established with extreme precision. Due to the uncertainty principle, the system's ground state, which has the lowest energy, must have a pattern of position and momentum that satisfies this requirement. It implies that its energy must be higher than the last layer of the prospective well. Zero-point energy field. An overview. The English equivalent of the German phrase Nullpunktsenergie is zero-point energy, ZPE. The terms ground state energy and zero-point radiation are sometimes used synonymously with it. When referring to a particular vacuum field, such as the QED vacuum, which interacts directly with quantum electrodynamics, such as electromagnetic communications between photons, electron, and the vacuum, or the QCD vacuum in terms of quantum chromodynamics, the expression zero-point field, ZPF, can be used, e.g., color-charge interactions between gluons, quarks, and the vacuum. Instead of being perceived as void, a vacuum, emptiness, can be thought of as the amalgamation of all zero-point fields. Its related zero-point energy is referred to as the vacuum energy in the quantum field postulate, and the average energy value is known as the vacuum expectation value, VEV, also expressed as its condensate. According to classical mechanics, each particle has some energy that comprises both kinetic and potential energy. For instance, the amplitude of random particle motion brought on by kinetic energy gives rise to temperature, Brownian motion. One can imagine that when the temperature reaches absolute zero, all motion ends, and particles are eventually at rest. In actuality, however, particles continue to hold on to kinetic energy, even at the coldest temperatures. The uncertainty principle concerning quantum mechanics has the effect that the random motion matching with this zero-point energy never disappears. An electron experiences random impulses from zero-point radiation constantly, never coming to a dead stop. The oscillator's average energy from zero-point radiation is equivalent to the frequency of oscillation times multiplied by 1/2 of Planck's constant. According to the uncertainty principle, no object can ever possess exact values for both speed and position at the same time. Hamiltonian quantum mechanical objects, which also characterize the state as a harmonic oscillator or wave function that oscillates between different energy states, define the entire energy of the object, both potential and kinetic. Due to their wave-like character, all quantum mechanical systems experience oscillations, even in their ground position. Every quantum mechanical system must have ever-fluctuating zero-point energy larger than the lowest of its classical potential to satisfy the uncertainty principle. Even at absolute zero, motion is created by this system. For instance, because of its zero-point energy, liquid helium does not freeze at atmospheric temperature or pressure. Any place in space, emptiness or vacuum, that controls energy should denote as having mass to produce particles because of Einstein's equation E equals mc squared, which states that mass and energy are equivalent. Because of the energy of quantum fluctuations brought on by the uncertainty principle, virtual particles suddenly appear at every location in space. To comprehend the underlying interactions between matter and forces, modern science has created the quantum field theory, QFT, which treats each point in space as a quantum harmonic oscillator. It seems counterintuitive to think that empty space could have underlying energy, and that there is no such thing as a real vacuum. It is frequently suggested that zero-point radiation permeates the entire cosmos, and that it can only ever contribute a small constant amount to computations. Therefore, physical measurements will only show variations from this value. Zero-point energy is regarded in the mathematical model as a concept that has no physical impact on several practical calculations. However, this approach has issues because the absolute energy value of space, which determines the cosmological constant, is not a random constant, according to Einstein's theory of general relativity. Most physicists believed for many years that the unlimited zero-point energy would eventually disappear due to some undiscovered basic principle. The vacuum won't gravitate if it has no fundamental, absolute worth of energy. It was thought that as the universe grew after the Big Bang, all matter in the cosmos, including galaxies, would have started to slow down because there was less energy in each unit of space as the total amount of energy spilled out to fill the universe's volume. The finding that the expansion of the universe is not slowing down, but rather accelerating, indicating that emptiness in space contains some fundamental energy, ruled out this hypothesis in 1998. Zero-point energy is the best explanation for the discovery of dark energy, but it is still unclear why the value seems to be so modest in comparison to the enormous value predicted by this theory, due to the regular cosmological occurrence. Emptiness from a philosophical viewpoint. Emptiness is a feeling of all-encompassing boredom, social estrangement, and apathy that permeates human existence. Dysthymia, anhedonia, despair, depression, loneliness, or other psychiatric illnesses such as borderline and schizoid personality disorders, post-traumatic stress derangement, attention deficit hyperactivity disarray, and schizotypal personality affliction frequently come with feelings of emptiness. An experience of emptiness is a normal aspect of the grieving process that results after the loss of a loved one or other major mishaps. Depending on the situation and the religious or cultural context wherein it is employed, emptiness can have several connotations. Feeling empty is frequently considered an indecent feature in the West. For instance, psychologist Clive Hazel says that families with abusive associations and poor treatment are to blame for feelings of loneliness and emptiness. He asserts that some individuals who are experiencing a sense of emptiness attempt to deal with their distressing emotions by developing a drug addiction or obsessive activity, whether it be compulsive gambling or other immoral affairs, leading to frenzied action or using violence. In sociology, a person's sensation of emptiness is linked to his social estrangement. Due to the repetitive nature of daily work schedules, this alienating perception may be ignored while people are at work, but during downtime or on the weekends, they may experience an introspective vacuum and emptiness. A special variety of existentialist philosophies and some versions of the Death of God movement valued the idea of emptiness. Man's understanding of his inherent solitude in an uncaring world is the source of existentialism, a philosophical movement that gives a platform to the feeling of isolation and despair. Individuals who live in bad faith make excuses when they feel empty and secluded. People who experience emptiness and take accountability attempt to live true lives. Humans tend to alienate from the Almighty, nature, other compatriots, and their inner selves. These assertions are shared by existentialists. Humans dwell on the edge of life due to their urbanization, thoughtless employment, and reliance on light mass media, which causes even those who appear to have everything can experience emptiness, unease, and discontentment. A feeling of emptiness is frequently associated with depression in societies where it reflects as a harmful psychological disease. As a result, several of the identical therapies, viz. Psychotherapy, group therapy, or other forms of counseling, are suggested. Additionally, it may be advised to those who feel empty to stay active and keep up a constant schedule of work and social engagements. Many other approaches that have been recommended to lessen emptiness include adopting a pet or going for animal-centric therapy, engaging in spiritual practices like meditation, or religious rituals and services. participating in a constructive group discussion and making friends, engaging in social interactions like community programs and outings, or discovering a hobby or recreational option to rekindle interest in life. Due to the lack of will from the life of thinking patterns, people have begun to feel spiritual emptiness, and their line of thinking started to exhibit lazy passivity. People in contemporary Europe would let their thoughts take hold of them, and these concepts would become more abstract and comprise pure, natural, scientific reasoning. With their thoughts growing dimmer and colder and devoid of spirit, the learned middle classes have started to think in a manner that may be devoid of spirit. Application of the no-mind concept in routine life. People work every day to ensure their survival, realize their dreams, for fun activities, and accomplish their predefined goals. But they want to be satisfied in life. However, when somebody reminds them that they need to be empty to become full, it virtually surprises the persons in question. It means to experience wholeness. Human minds must be clear and transparent to the core. What exactly is this emptiness, this no mind right now? How can it fill individuals with hope? Is it a sensible way of living? One may explore the idea further. Human imagination and the manner individuals present themselves only exacerbate their ignorance of the truth and the essence of their existence. Knowing nothing is an easy battle won, but learning something incorrectly and differently makes everything more complicated and deepens the lack of enlightenment. Both of these non- and misapprehensions stay firm in human minds, so they must first learn to put an end to all irrational self-imaginations, to eradicate ignorance about self-identity. The mind needs to learn to be tranquil, to directly observe what one logically believes. Then, what is not a creation of human imagination or intellect is made apparent. No mind, often known as the state of no-mindedness, is a shorter version of the Zen phrase Mushan no Shin, which means the mind without consciousness. It entails a mind that is receptive to everything, since it is not anchored or filled with thinking or emotional traits. It is employed in Vedanta and has the Sanskrit name Amani Bhava. Meditation employing breathing sessions. People who are searching for a spiritual awakening adopt this technique. It was promoted by Buddha as a gateway into the realm of no mind. The technique utilizes the assertion that conscious thinking constructs the brain to consider only one thought at a given time. As a result, by focusing on the breath, which occurs naturally and doesn't need to be thought about, people can release consciousness from the ego's grip on pointless thought patterns, concern, and anxiety. It reflects that instead of being somewhere in the heavens, God is within oneself. The life force that flows through human bodies like an electric charge, holding body cells together and keeping individuals alive, cannot possibly be closer to mortal remains of physical entities. It is believed that attaining a condition of silent awareness, opening the mind to its source, is the most significant thing humans can achieve in life. In the West, the term meditation has lost its meaning and instead encompasses a wide range of other practices. The newest addition, and unquestionably the most well-liked, is mindfulness. According to science, all types of meditation, including relaxation, visualization, mindfulness, and others, have demonstrable but generalized positive effects. Even if they are not called meditation, all stress management style techniques fall under this category. So there is a particular benefit to meditation. Or is it simply another technique to unwind and reduce stress? These are the issues that the research establishments are still having trouble solving. It's crucial to note that one can only respond to this question if one is certain of what meditation is. In essence, mindfulness entails the unreactive passive monitoring of internal and external stimuli. Buddhist meditation books lay it out in the most explicit manner. Due to its association with Buddhism, which is currently highly fashionable, its secular aesthetic, and its usefulness as an addition to several other psychotherapy techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness has grown immensely popular. No question that practicing mindfulness can help maintain and improve one's mental being. However, hundreds of therapeutic trials have been conducted, but no conclusive proof of a mindfulness-specific impact has been found. Unexpectedly, the oldest definition of meditation stretches back thousands of years before Buddhism and mindfulness. The narrator of the historic Indian epic, the Mahabharata, claims that a meditator resembles a plank of wood. His mind is empty. Simply put, according to the earliest Eastern definitions, the main characteristic of meditation is a state of mental silence. Eastern literature from almost every historical era contains numerous explicit illustrations of this description, i.e., people need to empty the mind of all thoughts. But Western conceptions of meditation have frequently overlooked its importance. The Cartesian maxim, which has come to characterize not only Western philosophy, but also psychology, may be responsible for the indifference toward Eastern philosophy. It could be the reason why mental stillness is both an unfamiliar concept and an absurd feeling for the majority of Westerners, especially the professors and researchers who are the sources of contemporary scientific knowledge. Interesting results from brain research have been reported. First, the experience is linked to an identifiable pattern of brain electrical activity. Elevated alpha-theta activity along the midline at the forefront and center of the brain. It has associations with lower anxiety and increased focus. The subjective perception of the quality of the meditation session and these scientifically recorded electrical changes also showed a significant link. Second, compared to non-meditators, meditators' brains show fewer signs of stress. It suggests that the advantages go beyond simple suppression of emotion or its ancillary attributes, and instead take place at a neurophysiological level. The mindfulness idea is both a development of and a complement to the mental silence paradigm. Mental silence entails advancing this experience of a no mental content state while staying in complete command of one's intellect. Mindfulness comprises the passive analysis of stimuli to diminish mental reactions. Rather than being a target in itself, mindfulness was originally intended to be a tool to help people achieve mental silence. This change in scientific understanding of mind emptiness provides patients and doctors with a realistically helpful approach to comprehending and profiting from meditation, while also resolving several contradictions that were previously intractable.